Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about 5 benefits of meditation and also how we meditate.
So before we get started, I'm just going to apologise because my voice is kind of croaky. I'm coming out of a cold, and also there's a guy outside with a jackhammer.
Yeah, it's always like just when we want to film. It's not like a barking dog or like some small thing. It's like a literally jackhammer.
To get started with this video, what we wanted to talk about is how to meditate.
So I think when you're getting started with meditation, it can be a little bit, I guess, daunting, or you're just not really sure if you're doing it right. So we think that the best way to get started is just with like 5 or 10 minutes a day, find somewhere to sit quietly and just practice focusing on your breath. And that's really the best place, I think, to start. So it's focusing on the pattern of your breathing and just focusing on the sensations or the sounds around you, and really taking that time to step back from your thoughts and become more of an observer of your thoughts. If you can't stop your thoughts, because it can be really tricky, especially when you start, to calm down those thoughts. But if you can at least get into that space where you're noticing your breath, noticing the sounds around you, and when a thought comes up, you kind of witness the thought and go, oh, a thought's come up.
I think people get confused about what you mean by like the observer of your thoughts, because people think they are their thoughts. But if you can become kind of step back and become more objective and not kind of be reacting to each thing that pops through your head, I think that's kind of what they're meaning by the observer of your thoughts.
Some people say it's like, just think all your thoughts are like a stream and they're like leaves floating down, and you're watching and things come up and you go, oh, there's a thought, and I'll go back to my breath. It's just capturing yourself in that thought and then moving back to presence. So that's the best way to start, at least in our opinion. You can use a lot of good guided meditations as well when you're first starting out.
We've actually just come out as well with a 10-minute guided meditation specifically for grounding. So by that we just mean kind of coming out of like this space and back into your body. So if you've got a very overactive mind, or you're thinking a lot, or you're worrying a lot, it's just about kind of reconnecting with your body
and like gaining perspective.
So that's available on the site if you're interested, and I will guide you through 10 minutes of meditation.
So you have no excuse. The other point I wanted to say though is, once you have become a bit more familiar with that feeling of, taking aside 5 or 10 minutes to focus on the breath, step back from your thoughts, it's really something that you can incorporate into any moment of your day. You don't have to be at home, you don't have to even be in a quiet place to meditate. You could be on public transport, is actually a good place, I think, to meditate, because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people talking, and it's a good opportunity to just like listen and just get into your other senses. Notice the things around you, notice the people around you. What are they, people talking to one another, and what are the sights moving past you as you drive.
Because the overall goal is to be more mindful throughout like the whole day. So some people treat meditation like a prescription, like, oh, I'm going to do it for 10 minutes now, and that's the whole thing. Whereas the goal really is to be mindful throughout your whole day. So even if you don't get your 10 minutes in, you can do that in other places. And
like for me, even at, like if I was at work and I have a lot on my plate, that's like a really good time to maybe even meditate for like 2 minutes and just to relax, and focus on my breath, just for a few in and out breaths.
That said though, I think it does help people though to do it in that prescriptive way as well when you set aside that time. Just because, like that quote that I was saying before, it's kind of like, if you can't be still for that 10 minutes, how can you like expect to be still when there's things going on around you and you're in this situation, people are talking to you, things are happening. So just practicing kind of getting into that state.
I think what I'm talking about is, once you've gotten to the point where you can then practice that stillness in the actual chaotic situation. Because
that's the goal.
You're familiar with that feeling of gaining back perspective and being like, well, I'm really stressed right now, but I'll just breathe in and breathe out and like go into that zone where you're stepping back from the thought and you're like, I'm thinking, you know, I'm really worried about this right now, but you're not in it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Now that you know a little bit more about how to meditate, we are going to jump into the benefits. The first benefit of meditation that we've both experienced, and which is commonly known, I guess, is that it really can reduce stress and anxiety.
So I actually wrote a post about this topic on the blog. So it was more about looking at meditation from the biological perspective. So when you meditate, you're moving from that sympathetic nervous system, which is like the fight or flight. So that's when you're stressed, when things are coming at you and you're like...
Your cortisol is higher.
Yeah, it sets off all these reactions in your body where it's stimulating your adrenals to secrete like adrenaline, noradrenaline. Anyway, so
you're basically ready to run.
Yeah, so it's that response like back in the day when you were getting chased by a bear and you're like, I've got to freaking run out of here or I'm going to like collapse on the ground. But during that response, it's also interesting that it like shuts down things like your digestion and diverts energy to like your muscles so that you can like move faster. But during meditation, you're moving into that parasympathetic state. So your heart kind of slows down, your blood pressure lowers. It's just...
cortisol and other...
Yeah.
Adrenaline or...
So it's like that relaxed state and it's like a very restorative state, so your body's like building up, so they call that like the rest and digest. So kind of like, it's a bit complicated, but if you read the article you can find out more about that, but it deactivates parts of your brain that are associated with the fear response, which is really interesting. If you've got things like anxiety, it can help with that.
So our second point, which kind of is related, is that you can really help to improve your digestion and overall health with meditation. So by getting regularly into that rest and digest mode, I guess, or parasympathetic mode, your body just has a chance to actually restore. Your digestion has a chance to work. What I actually like to do sometimes is practice some meditation before I eat a meal.
Yeah, no, that's
after, because it's easy to rush from like do and then like go grab your lunch out of the fridge and just scarf it down while you're still worrying about
that's also people
things.
that eat on the go. Like some people even eat in their cars, and I think like your stomach must just be like going nuts. But it's very real examples though, because if you ever notice, like people have different reactions when they're in a stressful situation. Either a lot of people get diarrhea or they get constipation, so it's like their whole digestive system either shuts down or it goes onto like hyperdrive.
Yeah. So because I've had gut issues as well, like with my skin, I'm very mindful of trying to give my body as much time as I can to be in that restorative mode, because it makes so much of a difference. Like I could be eating the perfect diet, but because I'm stressed out, my skin's just going mental.
Because you've got all that cortisol and and that stimulates like a blood sugar spike as well. So then you've got high blood sugar and it's just a mess. It kind of dysregulates everything.
And then when you've got food intolerances and you're not even relaxed enough for your digestion to work as well as it could do.
Yeah, so it's just a very kind of healing state to be in.
And if you don't have any problems, which you're probably a rare person in this day and age, it's just good for like your overall health. Like if you just want to look and feel better, and like it could be like great for even losing weight.
Yeah, well, stress is like so harmful for the body. Our third benefit is that meditation makes you more present. So what we mean by that again is coming out of like, a lot of people are living from the neck up. Like a lot of
all are.
Well, yeah, and a lot of jobs kind of require that as well. It's like you don't need your body, you just need like your brain. So meditation brings you back into your body. It makes you, they just call it more present.
So in that present moment as well, right?
Yeah. So, and then a lot of problems for people come from projecting yourself into the future. You become anxious about thinking about, what am I going to do in 10 years? Where am I going in my life? Or they get like that depression where you're looking back at past things that you've done and you feel guilty or... So it kind of brings you into that state where you go, okay, well, the only thing that I can actually have control over is this moment right now. And it kind of creates a lot more joy for people when you can, not live in those two times that are not here.
And my other point though would be, when you're talking about future and past and present, is that the future doesn't only mean years away. It could be like today.
Yeah.
Like that kind of was a breakthrough for me because I was like, well, I'm not thinking about the future, but I'm worrying about what I'm going to eat for dinner. It's like literally like the present, like is in this minute, not like today even. It's like, just stop even thinking about all the different jobs you got lined up to get by the end of the day. Like it's like now.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I think people talk a lot about being like, we always want to be present. And then that gets a bit confusing because you're like, well, I have all these things to do. That's not saying that there's not value in planning, but it's like being in that objective state, making the plans, looking at everything that you have to do, then being present as you do those things.
It's like actually bringing your full attention to the actual moment that you're in. So our fourth tip is that meditation can really help with creativity. So when you're in that present moment where you're freed from the past, you're not worrying about the future, you're not even worrying about your to-do list for the rest of the afternoon, you can really start to access that creative energy within you.
So when you've got a lot of thoughts kind of swimming around in your mind, I don't feel like there's really that space, because that's kind of, I feel, where creativity is coming from, when you can kind of have that clarity of thought that's like, oh, this is what I should do.
I think about like when you're a kid and you're not worrying about anything and you are so creative, and then you get older and you're just so...
I don't know, you just get caught up in other ideas and things that are going on.
And what you should do, and what you should have done, and what you want to do, and you just don't have like that playful space anymore because you're always in like 10 places at once.
Yeah.
But when you're actually focused on the present moment, it can come to you, that creative energy. So
So our last benefit is that meditation helps you act out of your higher self. So some people might think that this sounds a bit like woo-woo, but really I don't think it is once you understand what we mean by higher self.
It's like the essence of your true self. It's like the person that you ultimately have the potential to be, or that you on a level are, but you can get so sucked into different worries and thoughts that when you're in a situation, you're not really acting out of your true intent, if that makes sense.
So they kind of, they say that like everyone's natural state is like a joyful state, but then a lot of us get sidetracked by, situations where we think, oh, we're angry at this person, or we're blaming this person, or we feel guilty about that, because we've like attached ourselves to stories, right? And you're not being objective or having like a broader perspective on things. You just... more like you're reacting rather than responding to a situation. So when you're more objective, you are responding with facts, with,
Yeah, I think though as well, you're just responding from your true, like who you want to be and what you truly are at your like core. Like as children, if you want to say, like children are joyful and they're not worried about things, and like as you get older, sometimes you just get more, I think, in your own head.
Yeah,
and so sometimes it's like, even like you have good intentions, but then you get in a situation and you're so bombarded and there's so many worries and thoughts and you're just reacting to things. And if you were to be able to step back and really connect with yourself and who you really are, not just all the thoughts and the different clouded reality or whatever, you would be able to act out of like that good place.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. It's like being to be.
But yeah, haven't you ever had one
of
of those situations though, and you come away and you think, oh, I could have reacted differently. Why did I do this? I didn't, want to be that way. But I find
you didn't want to be like so over emotional or.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You kind of become less emotional. Kind of like on a day when I wouldn't meditate, I would be more reactive to situations than on a day when I did.
It's like you're on edge.
But I react, like, I can go through the whole day and I'm so much more mindful of how I'm behaving and, how I want to behave. On a day when I haven't meditated, I might just be a total nasty person. Not the word that I want to say.
Do you ever have those situations, though, where it's like, say, a friend or like significant other says something that kind of upsets you, and then there's like, you're almost sitting there and there's like two paths, so you can like keep getting even more and more involved with the thought, like he doesn't care about me, he don't do this thing that I asked him to do, blah blah blah, and you like get more and more like I don't know, like involved, like your ego is getting more and more involved in its own thoughts to the point where you let it take over and you go on this downward spiral, you have an argument, and then there's other days where you're more mindful and the thing comes up and you just let it go.
Yeah.
And I feel like the days where I meditate, I can do that. And then the days where I don't, sometimes I'm just like so caught up in my own thinking that I just kind of lose perspective and act like from a place that I don't really want to be acting from.
Well, it's just not got much intention. So they call that you kind of being unconscious. So you're just like, I don't know, you're not really thinking about what you're doing.
But you're so identified with your own thoughts, I think, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at your thoughts as who you are, and you're just so identified with your own ego sometimes, I think.
It's all practice. It's not like you have to be perfect overnight. You know, it's something I think people are working on all the time to kind of become
more mindful.
Yeah. Alright, so that brings this video to an end. Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you have any tips about meditation or anything you want to ask, you can leave that below. Also, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps us with our channel.
Other than that, we'll see you in our next video.
Yeah. Bye guys!
So today we're doing something a little bit different. I wanted to share with you my workout for improving my posture.